Who's the most unlikely cut going to be tomorrow?
I mean, I think there's no one really on the roster that's cuttable right now. That's unlikely, I guess, if that makes sense. I think the guys that are safe are obviously safe.
I got a name.
Okay. I want to hear your name.
I got a name. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is getting cut.
Ooh.
Even though he's a good player, he became a valuable contributor for them. He had a catch in the Super Bowl. I think he's getting cut. And not because he's not good. I just don't think they can keep 5 running backs this year. I don't think you can keep 5 running backs and 3 quarterbacks. He's a better player than CJ Beathard, but if you're hell-bent on keeping big number 3, then it seems to me what they can say is we like Jeff Wilson, but his role on the team, it wasn't the goal line back. That's Tevin Coleman, apparently, in Kyle Shanahan's mind. He's the big bruiser, okay? Not Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson was the receiving back, the number 3 receiving back out of the backfield, and Jerick McKinnon is just going to take that job for him. So Wilson would have to make it as the 4th guy, and I think that they're going to be in a position where they can't take a 4th tailback. He got cut last year for the same reason, even though he played well in preseason last year. Do you guys disagree, and do you guys have another name that would shock people?
Let me ask this question. When you're talking about 5 running backs, are you including Juszczyk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Yeah. The concern with cutting Wilson for me is that you look at the running back position beyond this season. You have Mostert under contract, who's going to be 29 next year, and you have Coleman, a free agent, McKinnon, a free agent. So who are your running backs of the future? You just
JaMycal Hasty.
JaMycal Hasty, exactly. So this is going off topic here, but
you're right.
Worth the compensation. Alvin Kamara has like a $2 million contract this year. Would you it would fit. The 49ers can make that work. Would you, and you have $8 million coming off the books next year with McKinnon and Coleman, would you trade a 2nd round pick this year for Alvin Kamara for 1 year? Is going to be 25 when Mostert's your number 1 back going into his 30s when his contract's up?
Well, he's not going to play for $2 million though. You know he's not going to play for $2 million. So, but you still have like now $10 million in cap space. You could give him something. I don't know what he wants or what you feel like giving him, but you could give him $8 million a year. That's realistic, and then you could have him play for. Would you want to do that, Nick Maverick?
I don't think the Saints.
Go ahead.
I don't think the Saints help their rival.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who they have. Drew Brees for maybe 1 more year, so they'd rather Kamara sit out this year than him go to the Niners and completely eliminate that Drew Brees Super Bowl chance.
Maybe they traded the AFC, but trading him to the Niners would be
no good. But just going back to when are they going to address running back? Because they don't have that young running back. Matt Breida was relatively young. It's an old stable.
I do not get why they traded Matt Breida. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. But look, I would cut Tevin Coleman and keep Jeff Wilson Jr. To me, their skill sets are similar. They're tough between the tackles. They're dangerous as receivers. One's just way younger and cheaper with upside. But he's not a Shanahan darling, so sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. My unlikely cut. I'm in agreement with Maverick in the sense where the guys that are going to make the team are going to make the team. I don't think there's going to be anybody that's going to really shock anybody. And you're going to hate this one, Grant. It's Ross Dwelley. I feel like they keep 7 receivers. I hope
I don't have to write that article. Ooh.
And then the 3 tight ends with Kittle and Reed and Warner. So I think they keep 7 receivers. I don't think
they cut Ross Dwelley. Just straight up cut him.
Or
whole
maybe
world.
Realistically, who's going to be rushed into the waiver wire to claim Ross Dwelley? I think he can get right back onto the
31 teams.
We'll see.
Jeez, okay,
that's my guy.
That's a good answer.
If I have to go with someone, I'd say maybe Marcel Harris, but I think he's back on the team by week 4.
I agree with that. I got a name, Jason Verrett.
That's not a surprise or unlike. I was thinking him too. I mean, the guy can't stay healthy. I've never been high on Jason Verrett as most people, but I get that though, because a lot of people are saying he had a great camp. But
I didn't see that. I thought he managed to stay healthy for 2 weeks until he pulled his hamstring. That's what was solid about it. But no, I mean, if they were to cut him, who would pick him up? Who would be like, oh, dang, Jason Verrett? No one. You could put him right on your practice squad. But if you cut Tim Harris Jr., now you just cut your 6th round pick from last year who never got a chance to even play. He played a couple preseason games. That's a big deal, cutting your six. I mean, they did that with Marcel Harris. But I think it'd be easier. I don't know. Do you cut Jason Verrett or Tim Harris Jr.? Who's more likely to make it through waivers? Both?
Yeah, I'd cut Jason Verrett.
Yeah, I cut Jason Verrett.
So going back to your Jeff Wilson Jr. thing, if you don't think he would make the team, you don't think they could get anything for him on the trade market at all? Like, you don't think the Jaguars would throw a 7th rounder at him?
Good question.
They just lost Raquel Armstead to the COVID list.
That's a good question. It just seems like running backs don't have much value in trades, but you don't know until you call. I think someone would definitely claim him off of waivers, so you should definitely make that call. Get something.
I mean, he's probably – I at least think he's top 3 running back on the roster, so I don't want him cut just for a talent standpoint. But
see, here's the thing. If you could get something in a trade for Jeff Wilson Jr., who's a running back, and everyone knows running backs are a dime a dozen, then I think you could get something in a trade for Ross Dwelley, because tight ends are not a dime a dozen. Guys who can actually block and get open and play multiple positions. I mean, people kind of make fun of Ross Dwelley because his name is Ross Dwelley and he was an undrafted guy, but he's actually a good backup tight end who can play fullback too, block, catch passes. I think a lot of teams could use a guy like that. I mean, look at a lot of teams' backup tight ends. They're bums. So I think he would have value too. Maybe Jason Verrett you couldn't trade, but if you are going down, you're going to cut one of these promising young guys, get a 6th, get a 5th. Dwelley, get a late 1st. You know what I'm saying?